Welcome to Golden Blue, everybody, home of the college football fan. And don't forget about the checklist. Hat check, sunglasses check, Pepsi check, notes check, sources check, and thick skin is a check. And don't forget to send gear to represent your team and yourself in my background. Send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657, and get yourself a shout out. On to the next video. This particular video will be a Get It Gang video. And if you don't know what the Get It Gang is, it's basically a name that I came up with for the group of people that leave video ideas in the comment section of my videos. So if you think you have a good video idea, leave it in the comment section of this video and I just might use it. I even use comments that aren't meant for video ideas as video ideas just because I love the comments so much. So the Get It Gang comment that I'm going to use today, and I've used a comment of his before, it's going to be Philport76. Says something people really aren't talking about is who will be replacing Kevin Warren as the Big Ten commissioner. I've heard that the ACC commissioner Jim Phillips as a possibility, but something I feel could be something to consider would be Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark. I think he has done, in an extremely short period of time, an amazing job that shows him to be more than a capable leader and would take the Big Ten to even higher peaks in the future. Just a thought. 100% agree. And I really haven't seen the short list as far as who the Big Ten is looking for their new commissioner going forward. Kevin Warren accepted the position over there at the Chicago Bears, and a lot of Big Ten fans are actually happy that Kevin Warren is gone. Most Big Ten fans actually don't like Kevin Warren. The biggest issue was the pandemic 2020 season where he said, no, we're going to play in the spring, but then the Big Ten still ended up playing, but only played like 6 games in the regular season. It was an utter fiasco. His indecisiveness cost the Big Ten a ton of money in the pandemic year. So yes, most of the Big Ten fans are happy that Kevin Warren is gone, but who should replace them? If the rumor mill is saying that Jim Phillips is the leading candidate, why? Why would he be the leading candidate? That would make no sense whatsoever. He has not been a very good commissioner. I'm not saying he's been a terrible commissioner because the commissioner before him was way worse than him, but he hasn't been good. Brett Yormark, on the other hand, I think has been a great commissioner for the Big 12 so far. There's really only been one thing that I'm like, why did you do that, bud? And that was waive the exit fees for Oklahoma and Texas to leave in 2024. That's the only knock that I have on the dude. Every other decision seems like it's absolute brilliance. I mean, think about it. There was one decent deal left on the table, and it was going to come down to the Big 12 and the Pac-12. And the Pac-12's TV deal actually ended a year earlier, or ends a year earlier than the Big 12. What did Brett Yormark do? He jumped the line and nailed down that TV deal with Fox. And now the Pac-12 is in a world of trouble. So that was a great decision. Now it looks like he's targeting the 4 corners as far as Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. And he's making decisions to put pressure on the Pac-12. You know the Pac-12 is going after San Diego State, SMU, possibly Tulane, possibly Rice. Now we're hearing that San Diego State and SMU might actually be turning down the Pac-12 because of all the shakiness. And I've heard that the Pac-12 is interested in Fresno State, but the Big 12 has been talking to Fresno State, possibly, I'm not saying it's true, possibly trying to discourage them as well. In other words, he's trying to make every decision possible to encourage those 4 corner schools to join the Big 12. That would make a massive addition for the Big 12. And who knows, maybe he's actually targeting Oregon and Washington as well. Because if the Pac-12 crumbles and the Big 10 does not invite Oregon and Washington, they would probably be far more likely to join the Big 12. So Brett Yormark is thinking in his head, the sooner the Pac-12 implodes, the sooner I can get at least the 4 corner schools. And who knows, maybe I can get either Oregon and Washington. Could you imagine Brett Yormark as the commissioner of the Big 10? Wow, he's got decent resources in the Big 12, but he would have unlimited resources in the Big 10. Could you see the crazy scenario of the Big Ten possibly going after teams in the SEC with Brett Yormark as the commissioner? It wouldn't be too far-fetched. In fact, one scenario that I've talked about, I think is already possible, would probably be even more possible, even likely, if Brett Yormark was the commissioner of the Big Ten, and that's flipping Texas A&M from the SEC to the Big Ten. Because remember, the reason Texas A&M left the Big 12 to go to the SEC was because of Texas. They did not want to be in the same conference as Texas. What happens? the SEC actually ends up inviting Texas A&M and Missouri. And a lot of people think that that was a move to eventually get Texas and Oklahoma. And I agree with that because Texas and Oklahoma were not willing to leave the Big 12 at all for no reason at that point in time. So the SEC said, okay, so we'll take Texas A&M and Missouri and kind of shake up the Big 12, and maybe eventually that will lead to us getting Texas and Oklahoma. And voila, it happened. And now Texas A&M has their worst nightmare, aka Texas, coming into the SEC. And that's why the SEC did not tell Texas A&M until it was the very last second. By the way, guys, we're bringing in Oklahoma and Texas. Texas A&M was like, what? Yes. But they were voted in, so Texas is coming in. So Texas A&M's worst nightmare, Texas, is coming in. So I think Texas A&M, it wouldn't take much for them to make that jump to the Big Ten. The money is comparable as far as the football TV deal. In fact, they might make a smidge more in the Big Ten. As far as the academics goes, yeah, they would make a lot more money when it comes to academics in the Big Ten. So Texas A&M going to the Big Ten already makes sense. You add Brett Yormark into the mix, and I guarantee you he would be more than capable of convincing Texas A&M, this is where you belong. I know, you think you would lose in some recruiting battles, and it would set you back in recruiting, but I don't think so. I actually think it would help you because you would have even more exposure because you would be playing outside your comfort zone. And oh yes, we just added the LA market, so you'd have that market as well. So if you really think about it, Texas A&M going to the Big Ten, I don't think it would hurt them in recruiting. It possibly could actually help them because people forget that the Big Ten just grabbed USC and UCLA. So now they have that TV market. So that would actually give them a stronger grasp on the recruiting grounds in the LA part of the recruiting battles. So I think it would actually help Texas A&M. You throw Brett Yormark into the commissioner position at Big Ten, and you might want to watch out, SEC. I don't think the SEC would be in trouble. Do not get that twisted. I don't think it would be the end of the SEC. I don't think he would be able to pull what he's pulling with the Pac-12 with the SEC. But I'm telling you, he could be sneaky and try to get Texas A&M, possibly Missouri. Missouri would also fit into the Big Ten. What about Florida? That would be unthinkable. But remember, Florida has AAU status. They would fit in quite nicely when it comes to academics. If they go in with Texas A&M, doesn't look like a horrible move, and that actually helps them with recruiting in LA as well. So not a terrible idea for Florida. I know it's way out there, but if you put Brett Yormark as the commissioner in the Big Ten, it makes all these crazy scenarios just a little bit more possible. And just think about this. The ACC dissolves, and the SEC decides that they want either Florida State or the Miami Hurricanes. And Florida's like, no, we don't want them. And the SEC is too bad, so sad. They have the majority vote, so they're coming in. So you have Texas A&M mad that Texas is coming in, and now you have Florida mad that Florida State or the Miami Hurricanes are coming in, and you have both Florida and Texas A&M leaving for the Big Ten because they have the AU status, they have the academics, and the Big Ten does want a solid footprint in both the state of Texas and the state of Florida. Imagine if that happened. The Big Ten would have a footprint in the state of California with USC and UCLA. They'd have a footprint in the state of Texas with Texas A&M. And they'd have a footprint in the state of Florida with the Florida Gators. And I think if there's anybody that could pull it off, it would be Brett Yormark. So if I were the SEC, I would hope that the Big Ten is not looking at Brett Yormark and that Brett Yormark is not interested in the Big Ten if the Big Ten is indeed interested in Brett Yormark. That would be a lethal 1-2 combination if Brett Yormark was the Big Ten commissioner. This is a great comment. I'm glad you put that in there. And I'm telling you, yes, it would hurt the Big 12. I'm hoping that it doesn't happen because as much as I don't like being in the Big 12 because we're not a good fit, not because the Big 12 is a bad conference. I think it's a good conference. I just don't think West Virginia is a good fit. But as much as I don't really enjoy being in the Big 12, I don't want it to go down the tubes because I want West Virginia to be in a Power 5 conference. If Brett Yormark left the Big 12 and went to the Big 10, that would be bad news for the Big 12, and it would most certainly be bad news for West Virginia. Although, who knows, if the Big 12 did somehow implode, maybe West Virginia could end up in the SEC or the ACC. But that's a whole different rabbit hole that I've already gone down, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole in this particular video. Y'all let me know in the comment section. Number one, who do you think the Big Ten really is interested in as far as their new commissioner? If the rumors are true and they're interested in Jim Phillips, do you think that would be a wise decision? I don't think so. And finally, what if the Big Ten did grab Brett Yormark as their new commissioner? Would that be the end of the Big 12? And do you think the Big Ten would be able to get some teams out of the SEC if Brett Yormark became the new commissioner of the Big Ten? That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next show.